Welcome to the Sideline Live podcast. Subscribe for more episodes and follow our social media at the Sideline Live. We'd love to hear from you. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Cavan Ladies Gaelic and Collingwood FC footballer Aishling Sheridan. Just a small bit of housekeeping before we begin. The Sideline 7 will now be pushed back to the very end of each episode, so make sure to stay tuned in to hear the guest answers. Thanks for listening and I hope you enjoy. Hi Aishling, thanks a million for coming on the podcast.
Hi, no problem at all. Happy to be here.
What I'd like to do is kind of give the guests a chance to kind of introduce themselves. So I'll give you about 30 or 40 seconds just to kind of give a lowdown of who you are.
Don't think I'll need that much time, but my name is Aishling Sheridan. I'm 24. I play football with Cavan, and then I also play AFLW with Collingwood out in Melbourne, which is a semi-professional sport. I'm an athletic therapist. I graduated from DCU, and I currently have a lot of work going on my Instagram. If anyone wants to check it out, you can look me up at Aishling Sheridan or AS Athletic Therapy. Either one, you'll come across the page one way or another. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's me to a T.
Fantastic. So what we're going to do is just kind of go back to the beginning of your career and kind of starting off with Gaelic football. I understand your family have deep roots in the game.
Yeah, that's it. Everyone always asks, when did you start playing football? And for me, there's literally baby pictures before I could even walk, and I had a football in my hand.
Wow.
My dad played county football with Cavan, and then my mum also played with Cavan as well, and she played camogie, and then obviously with club football as well. And then my parents were heavily involved in coaching football as well. So throughout my whole childhood, and I have 3 older sisters who have all played football as well. So throughout my whole childhood, I've been brought to football matches, brought here, there and yonder, all over the country with football and stuff. So there's never really a specific time I started. I think it was just nearly embedded in me, and I started probably playing as soon as I could walk.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much my childhood as well. Just going to my sister's games or going to my parents' games or anything like that. And yeah, so it's always been heavily big thing in my family, football.
Yeah, and then kind of growing up, you're obviously such a football household. Did you have the opportunity to play any other sports at all, or was it just football?
No, to be fair now, my parents were very good. We actually tried so many different sports, and my sisters included. I don't think my mum was ever off the road. Whenever I'm asked, when I think of some of the sports I did, so we did athletics for a good while as well. I would have done that probably the most. I played basketball, I played badminton, horse riding, Irish dancing, played Irish music till I did my leaving cert.
Wow.
Indoor soccer, Olympic handball, literally anything. Anything. My parents right, you'll go. And I suppose it was probably just because sport was something that was always in us, that we kind of just were happy to go doing anything. So whether it was cross country running, which I can say I was never happy going to, but was mad. If I'd rather now the sprints or something like that. I never really enjoyed running around the field, but then I suppose as we got older, we kind of hadn't the time to really do everything. So probably athletics, football then, and then Irish music was another big thing as well. We were always brought to. So that was kind of it. A lot of it.
Yeah, a bit of everything there. And then kind of growing up with your club and kind of moving towards the county stages, were you involved with any county teams at the underage level?
Yeah, probably. There was a lot of development squads. It kind of really started. I remember that starting up when I was younger, and so I was with under 14s, under 16s, minors, played the whole way through up. To be fair, I've been playing even senior club football. I remember, and I know my sisters were the same. I think we were playing when we were 13, which now you wouldn't have these days. Now I know there's a lot of rules in place now that you can't be doing that. But so I've played all the way through all the ranks and development squads and everything like that, with Cavan. So yeah.
And is there any sort of particular highlight you had from your underage career, club or county?
Probably with county, I know we won the under 16 B All Ireland, so that was kind of, Cavan has a really good underage coming up, and that was kind of the start of it. And then we had a few minor Ulster titles and made it to some All Ireland semis, lost out to Cork and stuff like that at Division A. So that was really good. So they were probably kind of more so the highlights. Under 14 probably weren't as successful, but I know now the under 14s we have now are phenomenal, and the underage the whole way up through Cavan, it's really on the rise, which is brilliant to see.
Yeah, brilliant. They're putting you under pressure now in a couple of years, maybe.
Yeah, that's it exactly. I'm like, come on, everyone, keep coming, keep pushing us. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I know it's brilliant. It's good to have that as well.
That's good.
So
Yeah.
it's really good.
Fantastic. And then kind of looking back on your career, is there any particular skill or anything that you wish you worked on when you were younger? A lot of people kind of talk about their weaker foot and their dominant foot.
I definitely say the weaker foot probably would be the main one. Like myself and two of my sisters coach our under 12 girls at my club team Mullahorn, and it's something we have literally drilled into them at under 12. It's been like, especially kind of the ones that's, that you can see the skill level is there. Like, we'd nearly be like to them at training, you're not allowed to score unless you kick off your weaker foot. And then you see that transition into games, which is unbelievable to see. So definitely for myself, I wish it was something I probably worked on a little bit more. Like, I'm working on it now, and I know I'm 24, but like, you can even see it in some of the under 12 girls, like that they're actually so natural on their right and left, which like only grow, like when they get older, like it'll be such a great attribute to have. And then I definitely think I wish it was something I kind of drilled into myself a little bit, but I'm doing it now, so I'm getting there.
Never too late. Yeah,
that's
definitely.
it.
Yeah, and then kind of finishing up with school and underage football, you had a post there a couple of days ago about your route to college and how you got to DCU. If you just want to take us through, doing your leaving cert and then kind of getting into your first course.
Yeah, well, I suppose I'm the youngest of four girls. I'm very close to my family, so people always nearly think I'm older than I am. So I sat my leaving cert when I was 16 now, but I suppose I was nearly like a mature 16-year-old in a way, in some ways.
Yeah.
In other ways, I wouldn't know how to use a washing machine back then or something like that. But so I was young doing my leaving cert, but in saying that, now football was always my passion. So I was actually playing senior football at the time with Cavan in my leaving cert year, and I was with the minors. So as in, and like, because you wouldn't really have had much leaving cert on the senior football on the football team, like leaving cert was never a big thing back then. I know now it's different with rules and stuff with minors and that. So look, football was my passion. I played it the whole way throughout my leaving cert. And then doing my leaving cert, I always kind of knew I wanted something in the sports aspect. Now, a lot of my course I had chosen were up high 500 points, closer to the 600. And I'm not going to lie, like, I knew I didn't put in probably enough work to be at that standard. Like, I was playing football like the day before my leaving cert, one of my exams. Like, it wasn't my priority the whole time to be eating the books, like I'd be leaving evening study to go to county training, But in saying that, I still put in a lot of study. I did put in the work. My parents never pressured me to go to football or anything like that. And I would be good when I put my head down. So I still did really well in my leaving cert. I just didn't get into the 500s. And then some of my kind of other choices, the points actually had gone up. So I was left. I had the choice to go to Sligo, do a level 7 health science and physiology. And at the time I was kind of worried because like none of my friends were going there. So I was kind of like, okay, so what way, because I was still so young, and I, the whole thing of having to meet new people, and none of my sisters went there. So I didn't know anything about the college, anything like that. And then, so I went there and I studied and I did 2 years there. It's a 3-year course now. And then there is the add-on for the level 8. But in the meantime, I was playing college football there, and we had actually a game against DCU up in DCU. And this is funny because I always talk to my sister about this. Like, we played, because she was in Mater Day, which is like one of the colleges of DCU doing teaching. So she would have like trained with them and stuff. And I remember like I texted her straight after the game being like I was like, the college just seems so unbelievable. I was like, I really want to go to this college. I was like, I know this was the one I always wanted. And she was like, look, we'll figure out something, even though she wouldn't have had a clue. Like, she was still in college herself. But then lo and behold, like, an opportunity came up for me to actually go meet with the people over the course, athletic therapy and training in DCU. And then I got to meet with the head of football as well at the time, Michael Kennedy, and got an interview. And then they questioned me and stuff like that. And then they gave me the opportunity to sit 3 exams. Because I had already studied a lot of the health science and physiology, I actually had covered a lot of the modules. And then I sat the exams and I passed, and then I was in playing football with DCU. I was on scholarship, and yeah, it just, I don't know how it happened, but it did. And it's funny, like, because then, then when I was there, I was absolutely delighted. And everything worked really well. We won an O'Connor Cup, and yeah, that was it. I took a long route, but I got to where I wanted to be in the end. And look, I probably, when I think back and, only turning 17 and probably going up to Dublin would have been a bit scary for me now.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out, like coming from the country and then you're trying to figure out everything up there. So I was kind of really glad that I had a few years to, find myself and then head to Dublin and then, live the life there.
Prepare yourself for the big world up in Dublin.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I remember my first year in Dublin, I was there texting my sister being like, how do you understand the buses? Like, that's not I was. But I'm okay now. I've lived in Melbourne and stuff, and I understand. And Google Maps is a lot better these days. So yeah, I'm definitely more equipped at 24. But yeah.
You were struggling with the leap card.
Oh, honest to God, I was. Like, that's in some ways I'm so mature, and then in other ways you can tell I'm the youngest, like. But yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Brilliant.
But yeah.
And then in terms of your football with DCU, you spoke about it there. You won an O'Connor Cup. It was 2018, was it?
Yeah, it was. It was in my final year. So the first year I was there, we got to the semi-final and lost to UL, and then it was same again the year after. We lost to UL only by fine margins. And then the next year, then we went and we actually bet UL. I think it was like by a point or something like that. Like it was always neck and neck between the two of us. And yeah, it was unbelievable. And like I'd made like so much good friends there, and like still some of my best friends and stuff. But it was so good to be playing football with DCU and the quality and the standard. When I look back and name our team, like, it's actually phenomenal.
I was looking at the lineup there. Incredible team.
Incredible. But that was the same for majority of college teams, even ULs, you look at theirs, but like when you look at ours, and we had Aishling Maloney, Leah Caffrey from Dublin, Sarah Rowe, Murren, like there was loads of us, like we had such a high then caliber of players, and then I was obviously delighted then to be on that as well and have my place and get a chance as well. So it was brilliant. It was a year I won't forget.
Yeah, I'm sure the training as well was very high intense in terms of the standard of the players and the training as well.
Yeah, I have to say Peter Clark, Angie McNally and Pat Ring were over us, and like to this day I'd still say they were probably one of my favourite management teams. I have so much respect for Peter. He had a tough year that year, and he still gave us everything he could. And then to win it for him that year was just something special. And he was just an unbelievable coach. And I just can't rate him anymore.
Yeah, and I'd say winning over, beating UL, I'd say was a big thing as well, because you had lost to them previously a couple of years.
It was, yeah. So we were winning. Like it was such an intense game. Like loads of people say it was the best game they were ever at, and sometimes you'd still go back and watch. But we were winning, and then Aishling Maloney got a yellow card. UL came back from 8 points, something like that, and were beating us by like 5. Or there was they ended up coming back and then beating us, and then. Aishling Maloney eventually got back on the field, and we got a penalty and got a score, and then she kicked the winning point, and we literally just I think we just won by the point. Like, and I mean it was neck and neck the whole way through. Like anyone could have won it that day, that kind of thing. We're just lucky it was us.
Yeah, very lucky. Yeah. And then kind of talking about Cavan, you made your senior debut when you were 16.
Yeah, so that was 16, 17, and then. But in saying that though, like I don't know, it was 2 of my older sisters played senior football. Someone like everyone asked me about my senior debut. I never actually remember when it was. I think I came on against Waterford, but it was nearly because you were playing so much football that it's not like in Australia if someone makes their debut, like I mean it is massive, whereas I find here it's just nearly like someone just starts and that's it. But I know it obviously now we're getting more media coverage and there is more of that. But I think I was 17 and it was against Waterford, but I can't remember. But yeah.
Right. And then what was that like for your family? Maybe they remember the match.
And look at it. It was brilliant. Sure, all of us from playing, and then my dad was the coach the time we actually won that Ireland 2013 that year. That was the year I did my leaving cert. We won that Ireland against Tipperary, the intermediate. and Dad was over us. So I suppose it was always just a big family thing anyway. And I don't know, I just feel like, because I wouldn't even know when my sisters got their first game, so it nearly, not that it was overlooked, but it was just part of the process nearly for us. But yeah, no, it was brilliant. Like, and you know, I'm still playing and can't wait to get back now. Hopefully all going well. And yeah, it's mad how quick time goes when I think back to, you know, trying to get my place and having to, like, you know, I think in my first year I probably never really got a chance. I was only fresh in, and then obviously having to work really hard to try get onto the team and having to try then keep your place is another thing as well.
Yeah, and what was that like coming in on your first year and winning the All-Ireland?
I have to say I was very lucky. It was amazing, and to be able to see the high standard of players, and you knew that was where you wanted to be. And look at, like, back then, like, it would have been really hard, and it was difficult. I don't think I really had got any game time, but I was still in there training and understanding what it's like, so that when I did go to college, I still knew I wanted to play county football, where sometimes I find like that's nearly overlooked because people don't understand what's asked of you when you play senior football. Like, it is a massive commitment, and they nearly go to college and then realise they don't want to play, whereas I had that in my leaving cert year and I knew that was what I wanted. So if that required me to come home from college to play football and stuff like that, I did that, and that was asked of me. But yeah, no, it was amazing, and I definitely think I'm very lucky, to be fair. But now that you kind of had it, you've seen what it's like now. I want that opportunity to be playing in Croke Park on an Ireland final day and be there with the team and hopefully have a win. You know, that's the goal.
Yeah. And then kind of when you started with the senior team, did you have any sort of like big shock, or was there any like welcome to the big leagues moment, if you remember?
I don't think there ever was. I suppose when you did start getting your place and then you might have been dropped or something like that, that was always tough. So that was probably more so because when you play underage and, you know, you're flying, and as I said, we were winning Ulsters, the under 16s were absolutely flying. So like it wasn't like you could just walk on and you were going to be unbelievable. Like, you're playing with senior footballers, you're playing with girls that is so high standard that, you know, you have to still get to that. You're not at minor anymore. You have to make that jump up to senior, which it is a large jump. So that was probably not that there was a big welcome to the senior moment, but it was more a realization that you needed to put in a lot more work to get to that standard. That was probably it.
And then kind of you spoke about it there, the demands you have with county football. What's the sort of weekly training schedule? Are you on the pitch 3 times a week in the gym then? Or what are the demands?
Like in normal circumstances, we'd be on the pitch 3 times a week, with 3 gym sessions usually happening. And then obviously if you do any extras, if you had a game, it might be a little bit different. You might have your 2 trainings and then your game at the weekend, and then 3 gym sessions anyway. And if you want to do extra or anything like that, skills-based stuff. But it's 6 to 7 sessions in the week, if not more, depending on what stage of the year you're in. And I know things are a little bit different now with the current restrictions and just with what's happening in the world. So I know it is a little bit different, but yeah, you know, it is intense. You know, if you have to do extra runs, if you have to do extra sessions, like, you have to do them, and that's the standard, and there shouldn't be any kind of excuses. That's just how it goes. And it is a commitment. You know, you have a game on a Sunday, you know, and your friends might be doing something on Saturday night, like, you know, you can't be there. You have an important game this Sunday, and that's another thing as well that's difficult. If your friends aren't playing county football, you know, there's a lot of things you're going to miss out on. But look, there is more positives than negatives, and, like, you know, you will get a chance to hang out with your friends and stuff like that. Like, it might be a once-off thing, but there is a lot of commitment in that way as well.
Yeah. And then kind of talking about extra practice and getting extra skills work in, do you do much during the season yourself, or is it more just in the off season?
No, I definitely would. I'm always outside kicking football. Like, if I was at home and I was like, I can't sit down. I'm very like, go. I'm always out doing something. So like, for me to sit down for an hour is a big thing. So I'd always be out kicking football, and I've only a few sheds on my leg kick it now because we've broken windows before. So it's like, unless Mum and them aren't here and I'm there like kicking, but then if it goes over the roof and stuff. But yeah, no, I'd always be out and I'd run around the house soloing right and left foot. Literally, cars probably driving by and seeing this one, a 24-year-old running around the house, and kicking the ball, soloing. And then if my sisters were at home, especially during lockdown, we were just always out kicking the football to each other and took it as a chance to work on our weak spots and stuff like that. But so I do a lot of skills based stuff, and then I would go up practice shooting then at my football pitch. So I could do that twice a week. That could take an hour or more. And then I would do a lot of kind of gym work as well, but that would be asked of us anyway. So that would be it. Yeah.
Yeah. And is there any skill or anything in particular that you think players maybe overlook these days?
I think the basics, especially when I was out in Australia, because we had to really strip it back to the basics. And I mean, myself and Sarah Rowan, we talk about it, like the amount of times we just spent hand passing or handballing, as they call it, just with our right and left hand. And now I'm so confident. And I would have always been okay to hand pass with my weaker side, but now I'm like, I nearly choose it over my stronger side because I'm just so used to practicing. So, and like people would always ask me like, how do they get better? And I'd say, just strip it back to the basics. Practice your right and left hand pass. Practice your right and left solo, your right and left kick, and how to catch a high ball. Like things like that is so simple. You don't need a partner. I'd say this to my underage girls as well, like throw the ball up against the wall, be ready to catch the high ball, and stuff like that. And I just think it's the basics that need to be worked on. The rest will come, but if you can do the basics right, that's a massive thing.
Yeah, I think sometimes maybe players and coaches kind of rush to do the fancy stuff, what looks good maybe on the pitch.
And sometimes overcomplicated, and sometimes it's a simple dummy solo that if you can dummy solo on your weaker side, and then you're straight onto your stronger side, like that, like there's a lot of, I think a lot of work needs to go into the basics, even if it's picking the ball up off the ground on the run, being able to get down and up quick. Like I think a lot has to be said for just practicing the basics.
It's like that dummy solo there. If you know, dummy solo left, you're in on goal,
that's it, exactly. Team, and like that again, you don't need a partner for that. You can literally just do that outside, just keep running over and back, like there's nothing. I just don't think there's anything to be said, like, oh well, I don't have anyone to practice with. Like, no, these are the basics that you can actually do on your own, and it will make a massive help.
There's sort of no excuse nearly for players.
That's it, exactly.
Yeah. And then with your own training then as well, would you do much cross training with the likes of swimming, other sports and stuff?
No, not particularly. I probably just more so like gym, and depending on the time of the year, like if I had to do running and stuff like that. But now in saying that, it'd be all running based towards my football now. I wouldn't be going out running 10Ks and stuff. It'd be all kind of different styles of running. But no, I wouldn't. I'd love to play basketball. I just know I wouldn't have the time. I've never really had an off season apart from, I remember saying, I think it was during lockdown, that was actually the longest I've ever had away from a sport, because I used to always be playing, let's just say college started in November and it went the whole way through to March, while county had started and it went the whole way through till August, September. Meanwhile, club had started from July to October, and then college had started November. So it always kind of, I've never had a chance to just like try another sport, but I'd love to. My sister and myself would play a bit of handball just out at our house, but that'd be it. But no, nothing else. No.
Maybe when you retire, you have a shot at something else.
I'll pick up something else.
And then just chatting quickly about, or just having a chat about AFLW. How did the opportunity come about?
So basically there's this organisation called the Cross Coders, and they had trials out to see would anyone from any sport over the world to go to Melbourne and do a week training camp for AFLW to see could they get picked up. So that came about, and I was lucky enough and I got chosen to go to Melbourne for a week. I think it was a week. And then we got trialed, did all the kind of tests, kind of similar to the combine that they would have. I got to play a few practice matches, all that kind of thing. And then I didn't get picked up. I was entered into draft that year and didn't get picked up. And then one team had kept in contact with me, and then another opportunity came up for me to go to Darwin, which is up north in Australia, for a month and play with kind of nearly like a club team over there, and get a few games and stuff like that. So we had actually lost the league semi-final with Cavan, and club wasn't starting for like I think club championship wasn't starting for another month. So like, I mean, in the space of a week, there was flights booked and I was flying to Australia for a month. And I got to go out there, play a few games, got to play against Collingwood. And then I suppose it was lucky for me because actually teams got to see me in that environment rather than just basing off my test scores. They got to see me and play how I reacted in games or how I reacted in different situations, I suppose. And then I was lucky enough, I got a few different offers, and obviously one of them was Collingwood after we'd played against them. And then I chose Collingwood and then moved out that November, and that was kind of it.
Yeah. And what was the kind of transition like to playing AFLW, like with the ball? Did you do much training at home before leaving for Australia at all?
Yeah, I definitely did. I would have, again, trained every day, 15, even if it was 15 or 20 minutes, and went up to my pitch. If it was my dad or my boyfriend or my family, any of my sisters or that, people were very generous and used to come up and like be practicing the basic skills with the ball. So I did that a lot, and a lot of running probably before I went to Australia, and a lot of strength work, just because I wanted to make sure I was up to scratch with the skills. And then it's so different with the oval ball. Like it is difficult to get the ball drop correct for a proper kick. And then, having to work on the hand-eye coordination and stuff like that. So I did a lot of work probably every day nearly before I went to Australia. And then, went out there and then was straight into it.
And even with the bouncing, I was watching, I think it was Conor McKenna.
Yeah.
He had 3 or 4 bounces in a row. He also did a solo in the middle, which was just hilarious.
Yeah.
But it must be so difficult to kind of get that placement right with your hands and on the ground.
Oh, it definitely is. Like the bounce, I think I did one last year and I was like in a game, and it was like, even I remember because I did it the week before in a practice match. So this was our first proper game and it didn't go well. And then I did it in the game, and then in the proper game against West Coast, and it went perfect. And everyone was like, "What?" I was like, "I know I practiced again," but it's more so because it's so hard. You have to make sure you hit the ball properly on the ground that it will come back up while you're still moving. So you nearly have to. It's nearly like a push out in front rather than an actual bounce. You have to push it out in front, so that by the time you take another step, it is coming back to you. So it is a difficult skill, but you rarely, the coach is like, don't worry, you rarely get to do it in a game. But I think, Connor got a few in it. And I was like, I think he was holding a record, I think, for something with bounces in games. So he obviously is very comfortable with that one.
Yeah, it was very impressive, and especially the solo. It was just you
the
couldn't take the GAA out of him.
Yeah,
no. It was funny.
Yeah.
And did you notice any sort of not bad habits, but did you see any sort of crossover from playing AFLW into your Gaelic game?
Yeah, there definitely is a lot. I suppose the way we always like to move the ball quick in GAA, or like even just the practicing the high catching and stuff. Now your hands have to be kind of shaped a little bit different, but a lot of the skills did transition over. But again, as I said, we like to move the ball quick, and sometimes in AFLW they don't. So that was probably like an advantage, but also a disadvantage, because they loved how the Irish girls are so fast and just want to go quick, but sometimes they're like, no, slow it down, okay? You don't need to get it and go, if you win your mark, stop. Whereas sometimes we nearly win the mark and forget that you have to stop and just run, and then you could get tackled. Whereas if you had stopped and placed a proper kick and stuff. So, there's definitely a lot of crossover, but I suppose then you have to take in the physical side of things as well with the game, and that was something we had to get used to. And is still like, trying to get the proper tackling technique. It is difficult.
Yeah, and then with Collingwood, then you were playing alongside Sarah Rowe, who you were with in DCU. Yeah. How helpful was it to have her there when you were transitioning?
Oh, it was so good. Myself and Sarah go back a few years, and we're very close friends, it was actually lovely. And before I signed with Collingwood, I got to ask her a few questions, and she literally gave me the rundown through it and everything. And I know her family well, so when we were flying over to Australia, her dad was with us, and her family are so lovely, and her dad and my dad would get on very well. So it was nearly like I had a second dad with me, which was actually quite lovely to have. Because I knew once I was going over there, they knew the whole ins and outs, if it was getting to the house we were living in, if it was doing the grocery shop, little things like that. It was so good to have. And then Sarah was like myself, having to learn the skills and that. So and she needed to brush up on hers as well, she would have said. So we would have just did extra skill sessions, and we did that throughout the whole year there, twice a week, did extra skill sessions on top of then other skills and that. So it was so lovely to have her, and it really, like, again, I settled in actually nearly straight away, which even she was like saying, you know, you actually settled in quite quick. But I think it was just to have someone else there is a massive help, and who knows everybody and knows the ins and outs. You nearly felt like you knew it before you were there, which was great.
Yeah. And especially you knew her before heading out, as in you played before with
and
DCU,
we lived together for 3 years as well in DCU.
Oh, perfect.
So we've literally we've lived together, and and then we lived together then as well in Australia. So we know each other probably too well.
Can't get rid of you.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. And then with Collingwood, then what would the training sessions be like, and sort of the gym?
So it is a quite intense training week now. I have to say it's very intense. So we train Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. So the trainings would start around 6:30 and mightn't finish till after 8. But you'd probably be in the club from 4 o'clock onwards. So you're there from like 4 to 9.
Right.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Your Mondays and Wednesdays were more physical sessions. So especially on Wednesday, there was a lot of tackling, a lot of grappling, which is what nearly like wrestling. A lot of that would be in a Wednesday, and you'd cover a lot in the trainings, anywhere up above 6K. So especially in pre-season, and then Saturdays were your team gym sessions, and then maybe a bit of skills, and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays you had to do your own gym sessions. So we did that, and then we would have done extra skill sessions on a Tuesday and Thursday. So really we were training 6 heavy sessions during the week, and then Sunday was our day off, and then straight back to it Monday. So probably the biggest thing was nearly how long trainings would be, because you're there from 4 and you're not leaving till 9, whereas here you train to be at 8 and you're there at 7:30 and you're gone at 9:30, not at 4. But after that you just get used to it, and you actually don't find the time passing by the time you do your prehab. There's a kitchen there if you talk to some of the girls, if you do a bit of skills before training, a lot of that, but there was a bit of a difference. Definitely.
Yeah. And what would your pre-game routine be like? Are you doing, like, what meals would you have? What sort of music? Would you do any sort of even visualization? I know that's sometimes quite popular.
Yeah, so especially for a game was kind of in Melbourne, because a lot of the teams are there, and like they mightn't have been till 1, or they could have been later. You might have had a chance. So we would have got up, or I would have got up and went for a walk down to the coffee shop, which was only a 10-minute walk away, and I would have sat there, and there would have been some people at the time zone. I would have had people up at home, so I was chatting to them, and then I go back up, and I always had oats. That would be my pre-morning breakfast, overnight oats, and I'd have a big batch of them, and then with banana, peanut butter, that whole thing, and then get ready for the game. Then depending on the time, probably have like eggs and stuff for lunch, and then you'd go to the game, and then they'd have loads of snacks there. So if you needed cereal bars, rice cakes, anything like that. So that in food wise, that was the way. And I'd always go for like a 10-minute walk where I'd nearly clear my thoughts that morning or even the day before. And that's kind of when I do my bit of visualization, more so when I'm on a walk, and listen to music. And then, go into the game and stuff. If myself and the girls are going together in the car, we'd have the tunes absolutely blaring, like the windows down, going The Greatest Showman or something, absolutely pumping through the car. But in terms of music, then that was it. But then once you got to the game or got to the pitch, phones were taken off you, so you weren't allowed your phone till after the game, so you had to hand them in. So unless you had like an iPod, you weren't allowed any communication. So even if you had a smartwatch, anything like that, it had to go. So unless you had music coming from like, I don't know, an iPod or something like that, but the music playing in the changing rooms anyway. So that was a different thing as well. You weren't allowed to look at your phone before until then a good bit after the game, and they wanted you completely distant from the outside world.
Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah, that's quite different.
Yeah, it is.
And then I have to ask, which do you prefer, ladies football or AFLW?
Always ask this, and I think I'd have to say ladies football, just because it's what I grew up with, and I'm definitely more confident when I play it. It's a faster game. I do love some parts of the AFLW, like the professional side of it, and the physical side of it. I do enjoy that as well. But if I had to say one, I'd probably say ladies Gaelic football, definitely.
And is there anything you wish that ladies football could maybe take from AFLW?
Not really. I suppose like we're very lucky now in the generation we're in, that ladies football is progressing at such a good rate, media coverage. everything like that is getting better as years go on. So like obviously it's not to the standard probably yet as Australia is, but again, it's a semi-professional sport, so it has a lot more funding and money and stuff like that. But I have to say, when you do compare it, there is a little bit more. I would love a little bit more access to maybe psychologists or, you know, that kind of different things with your county team, I suppose, which you have in Australia, or like just a little bit more professional side. But again, you know, we are getting better. The media coverage is there. Like there's a phenomenal improvement in the last 10 years, and I can only imagine what the next 10 years will bring. So no, I think it's pretty good, to be fair.
Yeah, and you see with the men's, with GAA, they're bringing in the likes of the Mark. Do you think the Mark has a place in ladies football?
Personally, no. I like how you can get it and go, and probably that's because it's one of my strengths. And then just from playing it in Australia, sometimes I'm nearly like, it can feel really slow, and you're like, oh, go on, like just play the game fast.
Yeah.
So I personally wouldn't. I'd like to keep the game the way it is. I like how it is. But look, I suppose everyone will have their own opinion. I just think it should be a free-flowing game. Don't change it up too much. Keep it basic. Keep it to the game we know, and don't be bringing in that mark or stuff like that. Yeah,
I think we're too quick maybe to kind of try change things and make them better.
Yeah, and I don't see why is the need. Like, it is a good enough game as it is. Like, so I don't see why there's need. Like, why fix something if it's not broken? You know, that kind of thing. So,
I think it's sometimes to the detriment of the game and to the skill level, definitely.
Yeah, and again, if it's slowing down games and stuff like that, you know, I suppose everyone will have their own opinion.
And what do you think is the biggest misconception about ladies football in the general public?
I think, like, even when you be on Twitter and you're just reading some comments, if it's about soccer or women's soccer team and stuff, and like, it really does bother me the way like people would talk and say, oh, it's a boring game, or like, why should women be playing that? Like, they're no good. And you're like, no, we are good.
Yeah.
Like, we are. And you know, it's no good. Like, we had one of our club championship games there 3 weeks ago, and some people, was it 3 or 4 weeks ago anyway, people that were at it said it was the best game of football they'd seen in they don't know how long, men and women's wise. And they couldn't get over the standard of it, and this was club football. They couldn't get over the standard and just the quality of it. And, you know, they were like, and this was grown men saying this, like, you know, that they had never seen a game like that. And I suppose that was with coronavirus, or what was going on, the pandemic, and then people started trying to watch games, you know, get into everything they could, and then they realized, you know what, actually it is a good game. Now, don't get me wrong, there will be days where games mightn't be as good, but men and women have that. Like, not every men's game is absolutely amazing, like, and they make mistakes as well. You know, you'd see women getting scrutinized if they made a mistake. I just seen one on Twitter the other day with a soccer thing, and the tweets just really bothered me, and I was like, but there's men as well probably getting paid more that make the exact same mistake. So like, don't be just calling out one and not call out the other. Like,
dead
so
right.
that's probably, like, when people just say it's not a good game or they're not good enough, that I'm just like, no, it is. If you went and watched a proper game, you'd see it. And I just seen that over the last few weeks. Some people like couldn't get over the standard of our club game, and that was one thing I was like, yeah, it is good. It's like that. So
I think people don't give it a chance. Like, if they just watched
that's it.
I think, like, I would be of the opinion that ladies football is nearly more skilled than the men's, because you don't have that physical aspect. You don't have the shouldering. You have to rely on your skills to get by your players.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. Yeah, because you can't just, you know, go in and do stupid tackling and stuff like that, because it's not like how it's going to work. But yeah,
exactly. And kind of looking forward then to 2020 season. I know obviously with coronavirus it's very different. What are the kind of goals with Cavan this season?
Well, we will have Ulster Championship, hopefully. So look, we've always wanted to get to an Ulster final and be successful. I suppose with Cavan, it's always, we want to get out of Division 2 league, but I know league's done, so that would always be a main goal. And then Ulster final will be our next goal. So kind of hoping that goes well. We get a chance to play and hopefully get there and reach that goal, because it's been coming in the last few years and we're always thereabouts, and then just fall short at the end. So I suppose that would be the main goal straight away. We'll be probably winning our first Ulster match, and then concentrate on the next after that.
Yeah, and then kind of looking ahead again to AFLW, what's the kind of plan there? I know you were saying before Melbourne's still in lockdown and stuff. Have they had much contact with you guys?
No, so they're still in lockdown, and I actually seen the other day it's extended for another two weeks. So I'd see like the group chat with all our teammates and stuff, and there's talks of things not kind of going back to normal to like the 23rd of November. And I know in Melbourne, our pre-season is supposed to start the first week, like around the 4th or 5th of November, and they were saying that they might have to train in groups of 10, so like three groups of 10s, or that might be the case, but they're in lockdown anyways for an extended 2 weeks. And that's, we're just aiming to go out when we finish our county football, and we're allowed to play with our counties, and then once that finishes we'll be heading straight out. So you're hoping sometime in November, if for the Australians anyway, that they get back training. But at the moment they're having talks with like the AFLPA and stuff like that, just trying to make sure that the season will start when it's supposed to start. But I know the netballers are in Brisbane, I think, because things aren't as bad up there. And then the men, I think, are in Perth. They were all relocated to these states to continue their season there. So that, I don't know if that's an option either, that we'll have to move to a different state to train and stuff like that. But there's a lot of teams in Melbourne, so I'm not sure what will happen.
So it's a little bit up in the air maybe for the next one. It is. And just kind of finishing up then, I do a thing called the Sideline Seven, so it's just the same 7 questions for every guest, so listeners can just compare their answers. So starting off, what is your favourite quote?
Hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. I love that one.
Yeah, it is.
I just think it says so much. Some people, like, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't work hard or you don't put it in, like, you're not going to get anywhere. Like, hard work has a lot to answer for. And I think that's just my favorite quote straight away. Yeah, maybe it's something people forget, that sometimes it is just hard work. Sometimes it's not just talent that'll get you there. And it goes for everything in life. You could be the smartest person ever, but if you don't put in the work, there's just a lot. I think it goes for a lot. But yeah, definitely my favorite. What is the best sporting event you've been to? Best sporting event, I have to say, I remember years now, this was back I think in 2005. I was at an All-Ireland final. It was Tyrone v Kerry in Croke Park, and I just remember it was myself and my dad, and it was such a good day, and the atmosphere and everything was amazing. So that's probably the one I always remember. Okay. And then what is your biggest setback or challenge so far in your career? Touch wood, thankfully I haven't had really any setbacks. Challenge, I would say, probably going to Australia, learning a completely new game and being afraid of failure. That's a big thing. Because there is people looking out to see how you're getting on and things like that, and you don't want to let anyone down, even though you only should be thinking of yourself. So that was probably a challenge, making sure I put in every bit of work I could, like every extra bit of training that was needed, really pushing myself as far as I can go and trying to be successful and be happy with how I get on in Australia. Like, you're learning a new sport and you're playing with girls that have been playing the sport since they were the age I was playing Gaelic football at. So you have a lot to catch up on skill-wise. So that was probably the biggest challenge. And it still is a challenge, like, especially when I go back out again, I'm going to be back into that mindset where I really need to focus really, really hard and getting the simple things right. Mm-hmm. And then kind of on the flip side, what is your biggest achievement on or off the pitch? Biggest achievement, I'd probably say I'll never forget when I was called into the coach's office. They did a video and everything on it when I was in Australia, and I was told I was picked for round 1. I remember I started crying and everything because, again, as I said, I put in so much work to make sure, and like, you have such a high standard of team, and you can only pick 21 players out of the 30, and if you're not in the 21, you're not even on the bench. That kind of thing. So there's only 21 picked, and then 2 emergencies, and they aren't used unless someone like is severely injured in the warm-up, and that's it. So like, you're competing to try get into that top 21. But yeah, that was definitely a massive achievement for myself. I remember just crying. Or when I completed my thesis in DCU, I got a 1-1 in it, and again, I put in so much work for that. I was so happy with how I did, and that was a nice reward. Especially kind of you went to Sligo and you didn't think you'd get to DCU, and you got there in the end. That was obviously, and then getting big. A 1-1 in my final year project, because I still put in so much work, because I was still playing county football, still playing everything and stuff like that, and still wanting to enjoy time with my friends in college. So I really had to be so organised and get the work done.
And then looking back, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
Probably not to worry so much and just take every day as it comes. I'm a very, like, I need to know what's always happening, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Sometimes I need to learn to go with the flow. I'm always so like organized. So probably don't be worrying. You know, I'd still worry about the future. Like, what will I do? All that kind of stuff. And again, when I was 18 in college and I didn't know what way things were, I was so worried. So just enjoy life, enjoy your teens, enjoy being 18, and just don't worry, everything will work out in the end, and if it doesn't, it's not the end.
Yeah, exactly. I think you've met your sister here. I'm the exact same. I have to know what's going on.
Yeah,
like,
and
it's terrible.
It's sometimes it's so bad, but I am better with it now. But like, there was a time where, like, you know, I'd be like, okay, well, I need to know what I'm going to be working at when I'm 50.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're 20 years of age, like, relax. Like, this was me years ago, you know, or what am I going to do when I'm, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, like, you're so young. Don't be worrying about that yet. You still have life to live.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then who would be your dream dinner guest and why? And I've had a couple of people on already and they've turned it into a dinner party. So you can have a couple if you want.
Oh, I'm only thinking of one dinner guest. I need more time for the party, but dinner guest, I'd say Michael Jordan. I watched his documentary and I was just blown away by it, like his mindset. I know he's probably a person you either hate or you love, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that would not like him or whatever, but like from looking at his mindset and his drive, his work ethic, everything like that, I was like, I'd love to sit down, talk to him, and just get everything I could out of him. Definitely he'd be on top of the table.
If you had your choice, obviously. I loved The Last Dance, and something that really stuck out to me was there's a cost to winning. Like, people are going to hate you. You're not making friends.
That's it. Exactly.
When you're at that level.
And he just drove the standard so high, which I was like, I just love that.
Nearly too high at some stages.
Probably.
You definitely, that would be amazing. I think I'd have to join that and then final question, if your life was a book, what chapter would this be called?
So I was thinking this is a chapter. I'm kind of tied between two. I'd either call this one now, of course it's sports related, Quarter Time or The Interchange, because I feel like I'm at that stage in my life where currently now, especially during lockdown and stuff, I realised a lot more about myself, what I wanted to do in the future. And I'm currently making small changes to better myself as a person in life, and then obviously on and off the field. So I feel like I'm currently at that stage where I'm already through some of my life and now I'm making some changes. So at like half time, you know, trying to better yourself, and then I'm getting ready to make the next step to push myself again.
That's a good analogy. That's a nice one.
So I don't know whether I'm at quarter time, because like I don't know, am I 24, so technically am I going to 100, or will I just go 24, 25 and go to 50? Is it like interchange at half time?
I know what you mean. But look, I really appreciate you coming on, and best of luck this season with Cavan and hopefully with AFLW, that everything gets sorted. Be sure to check out Aisling's Instagram, Aishling Sheridan, and her other page, AS_athletic_therapy.
Thank you very much.
A big thank you to Aishling for joining me today. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave a rating and a review, as it does help the podcast to grow. If you are interested in starting up your own podcast or looking for a studio to record in, be sure to check out the Primal Productions team over on Instagram @PrimalPro. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.